Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I am Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Today's episode 31. What the F? Yes. Are you familiar with that Who song? Who are you? Who are you? I can't sing, but who are you? That's the question. Who are you? How do you present? How do you identify with yourself? Who is your best friend? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. Who is your best friend? Because there should only be one answer to that. And Shadow Fox is going to answer that for you today. Who are you? How do you assemble the person that you put before others? And with that, I want to on my other show, Becoming Stoic, we've been talking about Rene Descartes. Now, I'm not going to get into Rene Descartes or his philosophy, that's irrelevant, but he brought up a question and an answer. And his answer is, I think, therefore I am. So today, we are going to get into the I am and the identity of that and bring forth who we are. Shadow Fox, hello, hello, hello.
Hi, hello everyone.
Lee
Thank
Two
you for
Hawks, hello, hello.
Hello.
yeah. This really is a very vast subject matter. And there's little intricate parts because part of what the F, right? Who are we? There that personality self part and also the source part. Um, but what we're going to kind of discuss a little bit today because um, just following patterns and listening to people. We may feel at times like, I don't know, last week or so, a little more despondent. We may feel a little more fatigued. We may, dream time may be disruptive. We're looking at the energies and who are we during these times, during the flow, the ebbs, the lows, the highs, all of it. So we're going to take kind of a little bit of a look at part of that environmental aspect of the energies of us being triggered in different capacities and recognizing that part of truly who we are. I mean, sometimes we may look at ourselves and say, "Oh, well, I lack this or I lack that or I'm this or I'm that." And we place all these labels upon us. But if we were to remove those labels, who are we? Who truly are we? As nobody's looking, okay? Nobody's looking at all. It's just you. Who are you? And I can answer that for myself. The two Hawks can answer, and I know Paul can answer that, but many few people can. And you did poise a great question, Paul, about best friends. And I'm just going to clear it off the board right here and right now. When we take a look and we can say, hey, who's your best friend? Somebody will come up and say a name. It should be your very own name. It truly should. Are you comfortable with being just with you? So these are those elements that we're going to try to cover today. So stick around. It's going to probably flip and flop a little bit, and that's okay. But towards the end, it'll all come rolling back because we're all in the flow. So I'm going to turn it over to whoever'd like to pick it up.
So I'm going to go with a flop. All right. Because I'm my worst enemy. I'm not my worst friend at all. I've got too many memories, too much experience to say I am your friends. I am your friend. No, no. Because a friend helps help you move through things, helps you to stand tall when standing tall is delimiting.
Mhm.
and you do that as a best friend. And I have had many best friends, all of them dead now, of course, because of drugs or whatever. But they were my best friends, and I would do anything in the world for them except try to save them, because only they could save themselves.
And so when you take a look at it, here's two sides of the coin, correct? Lee Two Hawk says, no, I am my worst enemy, and I am my own best friend. So where do you come to a reckoning with that? And again, is it how we perceive ourselves, especially when perhaps we're not feeling up to par, or even through, say, our meditation, and our meditation is a little off. Maybe we're not getting to that vibrational energy or frequency or octave, right? Or that depth of silence. Um, or maybe even during meditation or prayer, information is coming and it may not be something we really care to hear. We should hear it. We should be able to accept some of the time, some of the information coming in. But guess what? It's a lot different to act on it. We can always have guidance, but it's something completely different to accept that. And for an example, you may be in meditation and all of a sudden you get this impulse, okay, move. Like pack your bags, sell your house, and move and go way out to I want
Palm Springs.
and you're like, what? I have a life here. But yet your guidance, so where is that level of trust? And this is where I come in my own personal life and say, I am my own best friend. I trust my guides. But taking action on it, especially when perhaps we're not feeling up to par, right? And again, Lee Two Hawks makes a very good point because we can be very, very destructive in many capacities. Many. Um, Again, those, I think it comes down to that human false pride that comes forward. Um, but
Well, let me explain this, if I may.
You may.
Please.
oh, we're gonna pick on Lee Two Hawks today.
Okay. So during my entire lifetime, first of all, I describe prayer as sanctified desire. I think that's a good title for it. And my desire has always to been helpful. Well, not always. There were periods of my time where I wanted to destroy. Okay, but those are the things that cause the element of despair, or the element of non-recognition of the beauty of who we are as individuals, truly who we are, as those entities that carry a lot to move this earth into the position it should have in all the planets. Now, that's a little obscure, I recognize that, but I believe humanity in its entirety has a needful desire, sanctified desire, to move in that particular, I don't know whether to call it divinity or
Realm.
exploitative attitude. I don't know. All I know is that I have the knowledge that humanity in its entirety, okay, so there's 8 billion people, entirety may mean 5 billion people. There's always going to be those who are left behind and are not ready for the earth concerns at this time. So what I'm saying is we have a great responsibility, and myself especially have to attend to that. And I cannot negate myself and still be that being of gratefulness and wonderfulness and that desire to be helpful to humanity in its entirety.
I think and on my side, um, I like to give the benefit of the doubt. So I like to step in that premise of that loving essence where there is harmony, beauty. Now, do we see it all the time? No. But then again, I take a look and I say, okay, well, this is just the lower ebb, and this too shall pass. So, I mean, like we said, there's so many different components to this. And, Paul, you had made a mention in with the Stoicism podcast that you're doing. Um, creates that part of that critical thinking. And again, there are in the meditations that you've been reading, and also those that Bryce has been doing with Marcus Aurelius. That one's finished, and I'm hoping he's going to do some more.
He is. He's actually on right now. I think he's doing Epictetus.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and it allows us to take a look and examine whether it be, our actions, our words, our deeds, because when we're down, out, or we're being impulsed or just not, a little fatigued, like, okay, who gives a shit? I don't care to laugh today. You know, where are our thought patterns? What do we? I'm looking at showing that there are examples that we live every single day, but yet we have that choice. We can choose those perceptions, but yet, if you just sit quietly for just a moment, take a breath, count to three, count to 10. He counts to three, I count to 10. It takes me a little longer. But we can find that solace. We can find that quietness.
Here's what I would like to express. Irregardless, not irregardless, but different from what I had said previously, is I believe in harmony. I believe in beauty. I believe in the great aspect we have as a human entity, the total awareness that will be available to us at some time in the future, which we can all work forward now. No more war, no more hate, no more viciousness, no more jealousy, no more anger. These things have to dissipate. They have to leave this world. So, so that creates a conflict. Here I am, this person, full of angry sentiment over many things that have happened, but at the same time, having that belief in the beauty of who we are. And I truly believe that beyond anything else.
Yeah. When you take a look at the energy of love, and many people can create that definition or define it in many different components. Sometimes even love can be, trigger jealousy. Well, then that's not love. I just low self-esteem. Sorry to tell you guys. Sorry to bust the bubble, but really, when we come down to it, that energy of love, of essence, um, is where all source power comes from. That is the what's the word I'm looking for? It's the impetus. Am I saying that right? Impetus of perfection. It truly is. Humanity has kind of turned that idealism upside down, where they look for, wealth, power, greed, and that's all in this outside world of endeavors. And it really does fall flat when we take a look at um, getting to know who we are, getting to know you as your own very best friend. Who else are you going to rely on, right? When you
the best times to do that, the best times to do that is during great grief,
Yep.
great turmoil.
Yep.
That's when you find out who you are.
Yeah.
That's where you find out where your energies are at
Mm-hmm.
and how you're able and capable of moving forward. And what comes out of that is community. The community supports the tornado victims, the flood victims, the fire victims. There are people to get together to help one in all.
Yep.
And that's what's important to remember, because that's what we more truly are, one in all.
And another aspect of this is how many people, especially when we're perhaps caregivers or the nurturers, and how do we get to that point where perhaps we ask for help or assistance? Most times people will find that extremely difficult. And what does that do when we deny it or say no, no, no? Why? Through false human pride. It is through uh, embarrassment.
All right, let me
And
say this. I know.
yeah,
Okay.
uh,
Now through my own experience, it is those things that she said, yes, but it is also, especially for any veteran, about trust.
yeah, exactly. And so when it comes, thank you, when it comes down to this, when we're looking at who we are, can we remain open to receive the blessings that nature, all of nature, is to give us, right? It's like these are those components that we get a chance to take a look at because really, somebody can say a compliment and the other person will just say, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, thanks, yeah, no, I'm having a really bad hair day, so we shun that, we push those blessings aside sometimes. Why do we do that, right? Why? I just gave a couple reasons. This is another part of how we can take a look at who we are as an individual, as that personality aspect, because we've got to be able to have that giving and that receiving in open balance and within the flow. And when we halt these things, it starts stirring up that mess in different capacities, especially when perhaps we're a little despondent or just out of sorts.
Well, let me ask you this. How do we do this, Shadow Fox, when there's been rape, there's been terror, there's been hurtful enterprises through our life, entire life, when there has been so many things that have interfered, don't do that again. When we have interfered with our own development
Mm-hmm.
by the experience that we've had, okay? And in that, it contrives to make us less than what we are.
Yes.
And that's the whole point of this show. It really is. Because what experience have taught us, you cannot trust another human being because they have hurt you. They have given you horrible experiences. They have given you contrivances that interfere with your own thought process in which you cannot think straight.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're trying to reach, people. We're trying to reach that understanding for you that you can survive anything and all things. And it has been demonstrated throughout history. Rape victims, people in dangerous situations, episodes, etc., etc.,
Mm-hmm.
and we are able to move through them. There are those who are not able.
Mm-hmm.
There are those who have an inability to recognize their own greatness.
I think when we take a look at the traumas and the dramas that people face, those traumas do not have to continue to define us. We can step forward from that, but again, it is a choice. It is out of sheer determination that does it take work? Yeah, it does. Absolutely. And it's also, we can take a look at what those traumas have done and what we have learned from them. I mean, because obviously we have survived them or we wouldn't be here. So we can stay in that muck, in that mire, or we can choose through, there's so many different ways to do so, but the first one is to make the choice for who would you like to be? Do you care to continue to be a victim? Do you care to continue to be the villain? Or are we going to step forward and become that victorious aspect of who we are? And so I'm, as far as recognizing, yes, we can spend like 40 years and talk about the horrors of everything. And we're not doing anything. Why? Because we're just recreating it over and over and over and over again. And Lee Two Hawks and I kind of discussed how we were going to, approach this. And again, here are two different sides of the coin. You know, he's bad cop, I'm the good cop. When you take a look and you bring these elements together for who we are. I mean, Paul, you went through a horrific experience, um, with your wife, and it took you a while to um, process and go through that. But look what you're doing now. She's in a position now where she's helping. Whether it be through dream time, whether it be through inspiration, whether it be in and she's free to be able to do so. But that experience, you have not remained in that field of vision and stuck in that one place. You've allowed that energy, right? Like, you're on the ocean and you may be getting tossed a little bit like this, but you still have a direction. And I think this is where, when we look at about who we are, it's part of that character development. We can be a person of integrity and virtue and honesty, or oh gosh, pick a few of the adjectives if you like. Creativity. We can choose that, or we can choose the other side of the coin too.
It all does. Oh,
We-
go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
It all does come down to a choice. And I don't care where your belief system is. You can be someone that believes in God Almighty. You can be someone that believes in Allah. You can believe in the Roman gods. You can have a form of spirituality where you believe Creator is whatever you believe Creator is. Or you can be someone that doesn't have a belief in anything at all. None of that matters except for where you guide yourself. As Shadow Fox had pointed out, I've been through a lot of things. Okay. And my belief system has nothing to do with my decision making in the end. Because it's, where do I want to be? What do I want to do with myself? The things that I've been through, I could have allowed them to just throw me into a
Exactly.
okay. Now, granted, my belief system plays a part
Hmm.
in what helps me determine certain things. Okay. My belief system isn't me.
Right.
That's where I'm trying to differentiate. Okay.
Hmm.
My belief system isn't me. I am me. My belief systems, they aid me in these decisions. They don't make the decisions for me. So when I have gone through all of these things and I'm still able to come on here and do this show, do the other shows that I have, writing in my book, people that I communicate with, it's because I look at myself and I decide who I'm going to be and what I'm going to be. I wake up in a bad mood. I make the decision to change that. I want a happy mood.
Hmm.
I have a little pup. She comes in, she just licks the face and does all that stuff. How
And
how can I, when something that has a personality that is so unique, and yet I never am able to literally have a conversation with my pup, you know, and yet the communication is so strong between us
Mm-hmm.
that I understand everything she's illustrating to me. And when I am really down, she's licking that face of mine saying, Daddy, time to get up. Let's go outside. Let's have a walk. There's sunshine, there's birds. And then I acknowledge the beauty of the world. Now, do I have to acknowledge the beauty of the world? No. I can sit there and go in my own depression and dwell on my pain and dwell on my agony and dwell on my loss, but I don't. I
Yep.
move forward. And that is what we need to do in as humanity is we need to get over, and I'm going back with what Lee is trying to demonstrate in one aspect. We have to get over all of this distraction of everything else around us and put that aside and focus within. Where is it and who is it and what is it we are and want to be?
Mm-hmm.
let me add on, what do we usually call it in psychic things? Piggyback.
Yeah.
Piggyback on what you're saying. Way back when my 9-year-old son died in a car accident, I had laid down upon the bed, crossed my arms, and said, "Let me die. Let me die." My goddamn dog got up and started licking my face. It's like, oh shit, what do I do now? You know? It's amazing what animals will do for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Paul,
Yes.
go for
No, I'm just I'm thinking about what Lee just said because it's like, you know, our thoughts go in so many different directions in life, okay? And there's a lot of different things that help bring us back to the reality. Just like that where Lee was saying I want to go away. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I'm trying real hard to not lose it right here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because, you know, as Diana says here in the comment, you know, pets are such an example of pure love.
They are.
And my little cinnamon is just such a little love bucket. She can be stubborn sometimes. She may not always walk in the direction I want. Sometimes she'll plop her little butt down, you know, what the F, and just sit there and she's smelling the air and she's like, no, Daddy, I want to go in this direction. And I'm like, no, Cinnamon, I want to go in this direction. And she can be frustrating at times, but and every time that I have need where my again, I don't have to say, Cinnamon, I'm depressed today. Cinnamon, I'm angry today. She just knows. And there's the connection that we as humans were missing out on.
Well,
Okay.
doesn't it come to a recognition of the value of life?
That's the point I'm trying to make here because we are so disconnected. We don't recognize that in our fellow human beings.
Yep.
I walking down the street, I actually do recognize it because I have become more in touch with that and want to recognize it. And that's the difference I'm trying to point out. Because so much of my life I walked down that street and I never recognized it. I never paid attention and felt somebody else's pain and wanted to give to them so they didn't have to feel it anymore. Just like my pup does for me. She comes in and allows me to make that choice. Allows me. She doesn't make it for me. Okay. I still make the choice to not be in that state of mind I was in. I choose that because I'm feeling the love from my pet. So imagine if us as humans showed that love that same love that my little cinnamon shows to me, if we showed that to each other, imagine the beauty of the world.
Well, let me. I'm getting very private. Maybe I shouldn't explicate this, but when I was 10 years old, things were so bad that I tried to hang myself. So I tied my brother's shirt, who was older than I, to the top rung of a bunk bed. I tied the rest of very taut knots around my throat, and I dropped. Hours later, I woke up. The knots were untied on the top of the bunk and the top of my and my neck,
And the
So
door
is-
was still locked.
and the door was still locked. So, what do we consider as intervention?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody else was in that room. How did those knots get untied?
And that they weren't just slippery knots; they were very tight knots.
Yeah.
So, what do? I mean, when there's a call to do something greater than who you think you are,
Mm-hmm.
listen to the call.
Yeah.
Listen to
Mhm.
the call. There's no
Diane.
need. There's no need for. And my concern here is for those depressed individuals. They can't seem to get out of that element of depression.
Yes.
And when you're in that locked in bubble of depression, it's very difficult to see something beyond it, such as life,
Yep.
such as livingness, such as love,
Mhm.
such as kindness, such as beauty, because you're in that bubble.
Yep.
And I don't know how to explain it, how to work with it.
I think in some capacities, actually Diana and I were actually speaking about it a little bit. It's like you can't stand in the same river twice. You just can't. And there may be a part of your life where things were going great. Everything was right on track. Whether you're meditating or praying or just um, stepping into observance, like you had, Paul, and become aware of that environment and everything around you. But we cannot stand in that same river twice. And so many people try and try. Oh, if I could just get back to where I was yesterday, if I could just get back to where I was 10 years ago. Sorry, guys, this is a brand new moment, created anew. And if the vibrational energy is a little bit off, a little bit down, so be it. Then you will have, when you do hit those highs, or that, you're right in that flow, like you're in that zone, then you can really truly recognize it and honor it and give it that gratitude that is really well deserving, not only for yourself because you are there, but you recognize the distance between the two, right? Now, these are, there's something I was considering kind of talking about a little bit that we have written in our book. Um, but I'm going to refrain right now. I'm getting like, no, not now. So I have to honor that. Um, and again, I am in contact with my guides all the time and I listen. Now, do I always take action? I would say about 95% of the time. Not 100, okay? Because sometimes my energy may be little bit lower and then and then I question a little bit like, all right, is this, because I recognize, my energy might be a little lower, then perhaps that sieve is not as clear as it should be. Um, we have a family member um, really struggling through a few things, like on the brink of choosing which way to go. Had a major stroke and not faring very well. And so right now, our thoughts and our energy is just around. So this is kind of, it can create a little bit of a discordant note. And you know what? And that's okay. And even the show, if you take a look at some of the other shows, this show in and of itself seems to be a little more discordant. Ah, this is a perfect opportunity to show. I mean, if you watch them, and you listen, these are, it's still us, but it's us in this amount of time, right here and right now. And you know what? It's okay.
And you have to remember, or it'd be nice to remember, that if you are indeed in a creek, water is cleansing. I would recommend anybody who is distressed to go to a swimming pool and swim.
Unless you're up Schitt's Creek, then that's a whole different story.
I've been up Schitt's Creek, so I know the story.
you had posted something. I couldn't see what that. I think it was Diana.
Oh yeah, Diana and all that. And through our trials and loss, we must come back to our I am presence.
Absolutely.
There are hurdles that bring us to find our way back much more easily each time.
Yes.
Well, Buddha had expressed that this is the world, the planet of pain and suffering. It is there for a purpose, and that is to teach us lessons. It is there to have us grow into the light, from out of darkness into the light. And some may say, it's too much to handle. My brother was killed, just out of the thing. My daughter was raped. How do you handle that, right? How do you handle that? You have to look at life in its greatest position in order to give some vision to what you're experiencing. And I don't know how else to explain that. And I don't know how to do it. I do it myself just because I can. But I wish for all of those who are coming through some tremendous aspect of, whether it be a fire, whether it be a family member dying, whether it be deep depression, we can't seem to get out of that freaking bubble. If you just remember who you are, if you just remember the entity, which is greater than the personality that you are.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you will be at a level that will allow you to move forward.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Were you going to say something, Paul?
Well, I'm also going to add to it is don't disallow yourself to feel.
Yeah.
And this is really, really important, okay? Because when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're whatever, you need to feel those aspects.
But not act on them.
Well, to a degree, because if you feel the sadness and your action is to cry, that's a good action to have.
It is, yes.
Okay. So it depends upon the action, but don't push it aside and treat it as if it's not part of you. There's a reason you have these emotions. And these emotions are supposed to be there to help you understand what is happening. Don't let those emotions envelop you and make you into something you don't want to be.
Exactly.
Feeling them is okay. Letting them consume is not. And that's where you have to try to step out of the consumption.
The consumption, yep. And oh gosh, you just made like some beautiful points, and it is that part of, we can step into that fiery pit of hell if you choose, and that can be consuming, and it the loop to loop, the whole 9 yards. When we're feeling that pain, right, emotional pain or anything else, whatever crises that has presented that we're living through, and it is always for our own spiritual growth. No matter what it is for our internal growth. I don't care how bad it is. That is something that, and if we can kind of wrap our heads around this a little bit, even these moments when the energies are kind of a little radical, it's a time frame for us to traverse. So when we're looking at tragedies, when we're looking at that overwhelming uh, feeling of that emotional component, recognize that pain, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or even spiritual, that is nature's way of hitting the biggest red flags you've ever seen. Like, hey, pay attention. Hey, here's a lesson. Here's something. Take a look at. How would you like to perceive this? What would you like to learn from it? Because you can choose the views that you would like um, to represent. We really can, but the idea is many times we're not aware of either how to accurately step into something a little bit different or not. People will say, "Oh, it's positive thinking," or it's that it's all got to do with positive. No, I mean yes, it is, but no, it's not. It is taking a look at the patterning of our thoughts. For instance, here's a great example. You go into a store and there's a sale on something you've been searching for. And you walk up and it's just bold, big black letters with the sale price on, right? Do you walk up and say, that's not a bad price? Or do you say, holy, that is like, man, an awesome price. I'm walking out with this, right? I'm getting this. There is a component that triggers our thoughts in one form or a fashion on this. And so it's not like, do we consciously? Yes, we have to consciously, deliberately set those thought patterns in motion until they become a habit. That we're always going to see that aspect of, man, that's a great price, instead of saying, it's not a bad price. So we just have to consciously become aware that we have that option. And when we practice enough, now whether it be through meditation, whether it be through mindful wellness, okay, any of those components, prayers, we we do it when we're all great and dandy, right? Oh yeah, everything's just fine, and we can do this and with ease. And then life hits, right? These crises come to bear, or the energies around us are a little more oppressive. And now do it. And then people go, oh my God, I can't get to where I was, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. You cannot stand in the same river twice. So reformat, reframe. These are mechanisms because it's still a part of us. Who are we? Who do you choose to be when nobody's looking? You can be an idiot if you like, or you cannot be an idiot. What would you like to do? How would you like to be portrayed? What perception? Because what your perception is now in these lower moments is still going to carry over for a while. Why? Because we are creators. And when there's a high emotional charge to something, that gives it its inertia. And then you wonder why this stuff doesn't stop and you keep having it, is because you keep thinking about it or speaking about it. If there's something in your life that you wish would stop talking about it. Oh my. Stop talking about it. Reframe it. Change that direction if you choose.
But the best time to do that is in more or less um, peaceful moments.
Yes.
So you get some minor irritants.
Yep.
Learn to control those. Learn to manage. I don't like the word control. Learn to manage them.
Manage.
And then when
Yep.
a major crisis comes,
Yep.
you have built a habit
Yes.
of handling things,
Yes.
of working with it. And the other thing I would like to mention is that anybody that is in an episodic event should remember community. There's always people willing to help. There's always people to love you, to care for you, to take care of you, to give you food, to give you shelter. This is what we remember. Because guess what? That is the connectivity of the human realm.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
So why is it called WTF? Sorry, late coming in, been at work. Yes. It stands for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, I'm just
Good one. Or what's the fun?
I thought it was wet tropism forever.
no. Basically, we're talking about self-identity, T-Paul, and we're talking about how to cope with different things.
Yeah.
We're talking about self. We're talking about the I am, and that's what we're kind of focusing on. How do we get through the day? How do we get through animosity? How do we get through anxiety and depression and these other things that seem to overwhelm us at times? Whether it be loss or whatever.
It's more on that perception of our personality self as opposed to the I am. The I am presence is like that's something completely different, but it still plays in to a great degree by who we are choosing to be and how we are choosing to move forward in life. Again, they're like two separate entities, but yet they're together. So in this episode, we're looking more at that.
Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am. And bringing in the I am presence.
Right.
So it's kind of dual. Like, what the F? Which one are you talking about?
Exactly. Two sides of the coin.
Right. So
I'm glad you enjoy Rene Descartes.
How
about Robespierre?
As I explained in my last show on becoming stoic in relation to Rene Descartes, what I like about Rene Descartes is his in-depth contradictions of self.
Yep.
And you'll be like, well, Paul, why in the hell would you like that? Because it makes me think.
Yeah.
I have to break down what Descartes is trying to say to figure out what the hell mindset is this guy in. I mean, they must have had some damn good opium back then. When you break down, what I like about Descartes is when you break down Descartes, it helps you break down self, because we all have a lot of different contradictions and different thought processes in our own mind. And the only service that Rene Descartes, in my opinion, serves is for the critical thinker to be a better critical thinker. Outside of that, if you try sitting reading Rene Descartes, you are going to be bored out of your mind. And you're like, what the hell? The only truly energizing aspect he has is I think, therefore I am. And when you break down that thought process, and let me break it down for you real quick. Am I dreaming right now, or am I awake?
Yeah.
Is this all just a dream and my brain is in some little tube being manipulated by a mad scientist? Or is my reality actually reality?
What's the F, right?
There are three programs that. One is called illusion, one is called Maya, and the other glamour.
Yep.
Yeah. So the three aspects that all are related to illusion. That this life that we are living now is elusive. Yes. In other words, the Maya is our creating our own reality, which doesn't really exist.
Yep.
Right.
And because of that creates the glamour. Oh, look how special I am.
Well, and it's part of doing that shadow work, right? Yeah. And again, this is when you bring this all together and all forward. So, when we were talking about the title and everything, WTF, um, these are those, we, in order to find self, we also have to do a little self evaluation. And sometimes there could be quite a lot of self correction, and this is why I always ask that question. And I'm going to say it again: who are you? Who are we when nobody's looking?
Right.
Really, we put on those masks, we put on those personas. You go into a business room, and oh boy, we're just, I'm just going to beat my chest because I'm the best salesperson in the world, and da 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 da, or I'm going to win this case because I know how to approach the law the best way, right? So I'm rah rah sis kumbah. But other than doing that function, who are you?
Well, then you have the self, which is self identity as a human form.
Yep.
And then we have the personality as building on the self in relation to its environment so that we can understand where we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it, hopefully. And then we have beyond that structure other things, which in this program doesn't need to be recognized. But so when you understand self, you're looking at self recognition, self identity, and those things that we recognize as being in control of our environment.
And so, in a sense, there you have it, because this was, the concept that when we were kind of looking and playing at how this was, we were going to bring this forward, because, you know, everybody's in this game of life, right? And we're all feeling this stuff, and we can all trigger other people. Oh, hey, you didn't do it the way I liked it, or you may have said something, and to somebody else inadvertently or whatever, and rah rah sis kumbah, and then you know you step back from activities with those people, perhaps. Sometimes that's a good idea, but then other times you have to take a look at why would you do that? Is it like kind of cutting your nose off to spite your face?
Right.
But what we have to recognize that in our self recognition, we have to expand that, excuse me, we have to expand that into a larger picture of the recognition of humanity. There's a connectivity there. I mean, laughter doesn't have a language. Crying does not have a language. Voice does, because you have different accents, etc., etc.
And tone, right?
And tone, because everybody understands tone. That type of thing. All right? So everybody understands that. How could 8 billion people recognize another person's crying and their pain, their suffering? How could 8 million billion people recognize suffering unless it was part of everything?
Yep.
I want to bring it back to a second to the question you had asked about Descartes. And I want to give another explanation to this, because
Okay.
here's where my true intrigue, and this plays right into everything that we're talking about, because this plays. My true intrigue with Descartes is that I questioned as he questioned. Okay. My thought process at a young age, I think I can see through my eyes. I can't see through your eyes. I can't think your thoughts. I can't hear your thoughts. I can only hear and see what you portray to me. So I question my reality at a very young age as to, am I alone? Am I the only one that sees and thinks and feels the way I do? And what are all these other things that are out there?
Yeah.
And how come they can't see, feel, and think as I do? So that caused me to question my own reality. Am I in a dream? Is this actually a dream? and I spiraled into a depression. And then when I become older and I read Rene Descartes, it sent me back into that questioning of self. And for me, the part that is so spectacular about Rene Descartes is that he applied to me in my own relationship to thinking of self.
Mhm.
Who am I? What am I? Why am I even here? Why is it I exist and I see through these eyes? And knowing that nothing else can go on unless I am here.
Right. So therefore, you become an individual. Right. You become an individual. So there are 8 billion individuals on the freaking earth.
Yes.
So at what point do you say, I am greater as a human being than I am as an individual? I am more fulsome. I am
Yes.
more gracious. I'm more beauty in understanding my place as an individual in 8 billion other individuals. Some suffering in Africa from starvation,
Mm-hmm.
some in Ukraine dying every day. What do you do with that? You're an individual, yes, but you're part of a larger picture.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's why I do what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do what I've been doing now,
Yep.
giving people a voice and trying to change the world and share my ideas and my solutions with everyone else and bringing other solutions and ideas into the picture. And hopefully, we can do what Diana says and make the currency of the world love.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And again, we're gonna come right back down to the whole aspect where our human view is, of perfection. Well, perfection, love is in essence perfection, and we think of it as perfection with, money, power, prestige. This roar, here I am, hear me roar. This is who I am. Yeah, no, that's not where true power is held. True
Right.
power is always held within. And Paul, thank you, um, for hanging out with us for this episode. I think it was uh, many key points that were made. Again, it's just because there's, people have been feeling a lot of different stuff, and just so that for us to stay on this path, this journey, because it's a simple one, but it's probably the most difficult. It's
Yeah.
simplistic in its design. Um, and so we can get diverted very easily and just say, the heck with it, give up. And yeah, right. Just who gives a shit, right? And it's these books that come along. We reach out. There's so many good voices out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful, very eloquent in its delivery, that can guide us or give us information or another perspective. Doesn't mean everybody's got to take everything something hook, line, and sinker. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But just like how it had helped you, Paul, to kind of refocus and re-get energized, and for you, it triggered you to kind of start looking within a little bit, and creating it. If we don't have the thoughts, mind is the builder. It truly is. And what power that holds for creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I'll just throw this out. Okay. There are 4 kingdoms on the earth plane. There is the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom. Oh, shit. What's the third? Anyhow,
Vegetable, mineral,
animal kingdom, and the
elemental.
4th kingdom, of which we are the overarching influence on all these lesser, terrible name, fewer or lesser influences, the mineral, the vegetable, the animal. We are the 4th kingdom, And our responsibility is primarily to help these other smaller kingdoms evolve,
Mhm.
to show them love, to show them concern. That's why we need to take care of the earth. It has nothing to do with destroying the earth. It has to do with thriving.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the important part.
Yes.
And we can't do that with our desecration
Yep.
of all these fine elements that exist below us,
Or even ourselves.
or even ourselves.
You
Because
know?
we are in this form, in this physical form, an animal being.
Yep.
We have evolved to a certain thinking capacity, which moves us out of the animal kingdom into the human kingdom.
Mhm.
So within that, if we can understand that and our responsibility to the three lower kingdoms, just like the fifth kingdom, which is the kingdom of the masters,
Yeah.
their responsibilities help guide the earth.
Us and so on and downwards. Yes. And
Yes.
that's why you get the domestication of the animals. You know,
Yes.
horses or dogs and cats and so on and so
Because
forth.
they're being trained in that evolutionary aspect.
Yeah. Okay. But thank you, Paul. And I just have to put a shout out because Diana started. I'll be starting a space at 3:30. The Journey Within. We're both duly responsible for this Twitter space. Please come by. Check it out. We talk about many different aspects. We do intention circle
Without me.
and we share the love and love to share there. So I just like to put out there, thank you for everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Thank you for your support, and we hope that we've triggered some intrigue, some questions, or actually presented a few pathways for you to take. So thank you
All
for being.
right. I'm going to put out a little extra message today that I don't usually do at the end of my shows. But no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're experiencing at this point in time, that you're watching this, you're watching me, you're watching Shadowbox, you're watching Lee Two Hawks. Whatever your state of mind is, all I want you to do, no matter what that state is, I don't care how hot it is, how cold it is, how wet, how dry, how stormy, how beautiful it is. I want you to just take a step outside and I want you to find something that brings you joy. Because I don't care what the conditions are. I live in a desert and I can walk out there anytime and I can look at something and find something that brings me joy. So no matter where you're at or what you're doing or whatever your mindset is, just take a step outside and take a look up into the sky, look down onto the earth, look somewhere and find that beauty. And when you find that beauty, take it in.
Yes. And very quickly, thank you, Bryce, for that comment. I would agree with you. Yes. Very quickly, we are all equal, but yet we also have accountability to all the other kingdoms.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. But yeah, I absolutely, yeah. Um, Thank you for bringing that up. But everyone, thank you so very much, and I hope to see you guys in Journey Within on Twitter.
Remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, guys.